Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell the truth about silver. Today is Monday the 11th of January 2021 and we're looking at the US dollar performance compared with a basket of other currencies over the past year and its future likely impact on gold and silver prices. You don't want to miss this, so let's take a look. Firstly, just a quick shout out to the video we produced yesterday, Bitcoin versus Gold and Silver, Episode 6, Influencers, where we discussed the influence that the likes of YouTube could have and is having on the performance of Bitcoin prices, primarily due to the clickbait promotions of many of the YouTubers' videos. Now, we produced this quite late last night, and so we provide a link below in case you've not had an opportunity to watch it. Now today we're going to deal with the issue of the US dollar and its value over the past 12 months. And in fact, we also look at the dollar index over the past 5 years. Anyone who follows the gold and silver space know that all commodities are priced in US dollars, and the value of the dollar has quite a profound effect on the price of precious metals. Now, for many years, precious metal pumpers have declared the US dollar is on the verge of collapse, some as long as 20 years ago. The name of the main culprit shall not be mentioned, but you know who he is. And we've continued to poo-poo such assertions with, to be frank, a high degree of accuracy. But that said, though, it would then be misleading of us to say, or suggest or intimate that the dollar is strengthening and will continue to do so indefinitely. Because frankly, the reality is that it's not. Now, the past 5 years have witnessed a steady decline in the US dollar, certainly compared to a basket of major currencies. And this year that we've just finished shows quite a definitive fall. So we thought we would show you how the US dollar has compared to a range of major global currencies over the past 12 months. So let's take a look. Okay, so let's take a look at how the dollar has compared roughly over the last 12 months compared to a basket of major currencies against which it is normally compared. So this chart, published by Reuters in fact, begins here, I think it's the 13th of January 2020, and is up to date as of today, which is the 11th of January 2021. And we can see that initially, to this point, the dollar strengthened against the euro, fell then here through February and March, and then rose again at this point to its high for the year, and then, admittedly with some oscillations, we can see a distinct downtrend. So at this point here, you have 0.936 euros to the dollar. Fell. Notice, from this point onwards, each high is getting lower, and then we start to see each low also getting lower. And there is a distinct, although there's slight recovery here, there's a distinct downtrend. I can't draw it with this chart, it won't do it. But if I take that peak here and I go down to here, you could see it's a very, very steep declining line. So much so that at the start of the year, we have 0.898 or virtually 0.9 euros to the dollar. It went as high as 0.935 euros to the dollar. In other words, the dollar strengthened against the euro, but currently it's as low as 0.822. So how does that then compare to another one of the major currencies, which is the British pound? And you will see a very similar trait, although, of course, the pound fell hugely at this stage back in March. But this was all to do with a range of things, including Brexit and so forth. But there again, the dollar has fallen. And sterling has been a pretty awful currency, in all honesty, because of the concerns over Brexit. Would there be a final deal? What will the effect of that deal be? But there's no doubt that again, against the US dollar, sterling started the year 0.770, and now it's 0.741. Which basically means that sterling has actually strengthened against the dollar. So the dollar has fallen again. And that's against a weak currency. Let's have a look at the Chinese yuan, or renminbi. Now, whilst this hasn't got the same level of peaks and troughs, again you can see up until at least, where are we, May, end of May, the renminbi was at its lowest level, or if you like, the dollar was at its highest level. Look at this fall since. Almost a perfect downward slope. So much so that at the start of the year, there was 6.9 renminbi to the dollar, and now it's 6.48. And we have a few colleagues watching us from Australia. Dollar against the Australian dollar, similar trend. And from Canada, you can see again, similar trend. And I haven't looked at this, it'll be interesting. Let's have a look at the Russian ruble. Slightly different picture. Here, the Russian ruble has. There were 80 rubles at that peak, 80 there, but it started the year at 61.3, and it's currently 74 rubles to the US dollar. So the dollar has performed well against the ruble, so that's its claim to fame. And finally, the New Zealand dollar. Going back to the same old charts, you can see, once again, other currencies all performing well, the major currencies of the world performing well against the US dollar, and my final one, which will be the Swiss franc. And if we look at that, and again, look at this, Swiss franc, dollar at its peak there at 0.986, started the year not far from that peak, 0.97, but now there's 0.890 Swiss francs to the dollar. In other words, the Swiss franc has strengthened against the US dollar. Let's now take a look at the dollar index over a slightly longer period of time. And let's take a quick look at the Bloomberg dollar index. And as we can see today, and the time currently is in UK time, 10:48, that's GMT. And as you can see up here in Eastern, this is as of 05:32 a.m. Eastern time. We can see that the dollar index stands at 90.4980, which is up 0.4. But if we compare that, if we have a look at the 52-week range, in other words, over the last year, we can see it's been as low as 89.2, but as high as 102.99, in other words, almost 103. And looking at the chart here, on the right-hand side, I shall enlarge it so it's a little bit more visible. We can see that this is how the dollar index is performing over the course of the day, over the course of the month. You can see it started there in December. It's recovered a bit today, but it's still lower. We look over a year, look at this figure here. Very similar downward slope, obviously, to the currencies that we showed you, because A number of those currencies are included in the index, not all, but a number of the major ones. And if we look at a 5-year trend, we can see that the dollar index peaked here back in 2017, fell at that point early 2018, recovered to some degree, and has fallen again. So there's no doubt that we are witnessing a downtrend of the US dollar compared to other currencies. Right, we can now see a steady but discernible decline in the value of the US dollar against major global currencies. There is a discernible downtrend, a steady, or some may argue managed, decline. Now let's be clear here. This is not some major overnight collapse or even something to panic over, not yet at any rate, but it is something which does bode well for the value of precious metals in years to come. Also something to notice, and this will have a profound effect on the value of the US dollar over time. When Donald Trump became president in 2017, the US debt clock stood at $19.9 trillion. 4 years later, i.e. today, it now stands at $27.7 trillion, up almost $8 trillion in just 4 years. Under Obama, we saw the debt clock rise $9 trillion over an 8-year period, something which Trump and other Republicans rightly criticized him for. But the Democrats will argue we were coming out of the worst recession in living memory. In part 2, we will talk about the debt clock and also its impact or potential impact on currencies and precious metals. And that video will actually be published later today, so don't miss it. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. Do share your comments below, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel, not forgetting to press the bell sign so you're notified of our videos as and when they are published. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.